All right, this week we are at the YMCA National Resource Office having a conversation about their new knowledge sharing and collaboration platform. We have two speakers today. We have Terry Radcliff, who's a Senior Vice President of Talent and Knowledge Management. We also have Lisa Tallman, who is a Senior Director of Knowledge Management. Thank you so much for making time for this conversation.
Absolutely.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. So Terry, let's start with you.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay, I have been doing leadership development and organization development for about 25 years, and most recently here at the Y for about 11 years, and before that I was in the for-profit world. So I've worked at a consulting company and a retail company, travel company, always in the corporate office, this here at the Y being the equivalent as the national office. And my depth is in leadership development, all things related to the talent side, so recruiting and onboarding and hiring and training and executive development and succession planning, and been working directly with Lisa and the knowledge management function, which isn't my area of depth, but it is hers, as you'll find out, for about 4 years. And there's that natural connection between learning and knowledge, and we'll talk more about that, I'm sure.
Yes. Lisa, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I have been with the Y for a little over 8 years now.
Awesome.
As Terry also came from for-profit, moved into nonprofit. I started my career as a technical writer, and then moved in, did some consulting work for some boutique consulting firms, and then moved into knowledge management at a tech company. So if you have ever installed a application on your computer, that little wizard that comes up, I used to work for the company, Install Shield, now called something else, that created that wizard. And that's when I really got into knowledge management. We were doing self-service knowledge for our customers, but also internal knowledge sharing in our department, as well as business process improvement. And that's also when I started moving into change management, as well as our organization was taken over by other organizations, and we now need to change processes and things like that. And so also my first real foray into change management.
Awesome.
And then I moved to Grant Thornton, which was starting knowledge management from scratch at the time. So we launched a platform, enterprise collaboration platform there, and again, lots on the change management side.
So you are like the right person for the job.
Yeah. When I came here, it was a really good fit. Yeah.
That's awesome. Did the YMCA always have a knowledge management department, or was that like a new department? The reason why I'm asking is because most organizations consider knowledge management to be almost a way of working or a SharePoint, right?
Yeah.
And so you guys are actually taking it to the next level. So is it a new department? Yeah.
It's not new. So when I came here in 2011, the position had been vacant for 3 years.
Okay.
So there had been a chief knowledge officer before I arrived here that was had a number of responsibilities, kind of didn't really wasn't structured right for what the organization needed. They sort of realigned, focused on some other aspects of the organization. Position was open for a while, and then they said, okay, now we realize we need this again. Let's bring back knowledge management, and that's when I came in 2011.
Okay, awesome. So Terry, what was the burning platform to implement this knowledge sharing and collaboration tool?
Okay, so first of all, it's important to understand that the Y is a federated organization.
Yes.
So there's 820 YMCAs across the country.
Wow.
They are independent 501c3s, so they all have their own CEO. They have their own board that hires that CEO, and they get to put up the YMCA logo if they follow the rules in the Constitution. There's about 10 or 11 things they must do. But they don't all have to do the same thing in a whole lot of areas. They don't have to have the same talent processes. They don't have to do strategic planning the same way. So they're very independent.
Gotcha.
The change in how YUSA supports, because we're the national office, so we support all of those Ys, and we provide leadership in certain areas. And we had a real shift about a year ago in terms of how we are structured at the national office to support the 820 Ys. And we shifted from a culture where we had more experts here at YUSA to recognizing that there's tons of expertise across the YMCAs, particularly in areas that are core, like aquatics and group exercise and childcare and so on. So we shifted our model in terms of how we support them to wanting them to collaborate and share with each other, because it's just going to be so much more effective and so much more efficient. And that was the real impetus for accelerating and really doing what is our current approach to knowledge management, because Lisa would agree before that it was not like level 4 knowledge management. We were at the bottom tier in terms of how progressive we were, and it was very much about sharing content, and now we really have transitioned into sharing knowledge. So like in the old system, if you were the CEO in Lincoln, Nebraska, and you wanted to know how to collaborate with a hospital on providing diabetes prevention, you might call someone at YUSA and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, can you help me? And that person at YUSA might email some documents, and here's the best practice, and oh, call such and such a CEO, they've done something similar. And we needed to shift away from that to something where they could talk to each other via communities, and that was the burning platform for the most recent shift.
Gotcha. And so after this was approved and funded, what were your initial thoughts about the culture? Were you initially concerned that the culture wouldn't quite adapt a solution like this, or?
So I will.
Especially because you mentioned that there was no requirement for them to be standardized. They're so independent.
Absolutely. As Lisa has said often, I'll channel her even though she's sitting right next to me. This is not a technology project. This is a change management project.
Gotcha.
To shift to really doing collaboration and having community that share with each other.
Awesome.
So Lisa recognized even more than I did, and my degree's in change management and OD as well, but having worked in knowledge management so deeply for so many years, she recognized more deeply and more quickly than anyone that it was not going to be an easy shift, both for our YMCAs and for the staff here at YUSA.
No, and then how did you put the team together to do this? Walk us through that.
Yeah, so my team is comprised of 6 people, and we have 2 members of our team who really have traditionally worked with specialists here on their content. So again, we were very much we build it here, create the content, push it out, and so we had 2 team members who were really working on that content development. We also had someone who was really helping me on the previous platform on how to keep it up, but it was at the time it was really more about training people on the how-tos of the platform. So we've shifted that work and changed the position. It is now a community strategist position, and we've hired 2 more people.
Gotcha.
So we have a team of 3 that are purely working on community engagement. So how do we get awareness, adoption, engagement on the platform? Of course, we have to do training. In the midst of all of that, I think we've chosen a platform that is intuitive to some extent. So the training is much less than we've had to do. Than we've had to do. It is just really easy for people to contribute, and we've done more training on what does it mean to be a moderator than we have on the platform, and we have 3 members of the team that are really focused on that. So we've changed job descriptions. We've added a new job description here to YUSA to really help with that shift and change their responsibilities.
And I think that your organization is unique because you're dealing with so many volunteers.
Yes.
So how do you tackle that? Because that's like a challenge that a lot of organizations really don't have to face.
So as Terry was mentioning, in our new structure, we are really more focused on getting expertise from local YMCAs. So where we are initially going to have more YUSA specialists or experts really leading our online communities, that model's changed. We're really reached out to experts in our local Ys. So we used our internal staff to say, who in your network really knows aquatics or camp or finance?
Awesome.
Let's engage them on the platform. They are volunteering their time. So one, I think the great thing about the Y is we have a culture of sharing. We want to share with each other. It's not like I have worked in other organizations
It's such
where
a purpose-driven organization.
I've worked in other organizations where hoarding your knowledge is seen as what to do, and the Y is absolutely not like that. It is if I can help someone, if I can share my expertise, I'm more than happy to do that.
Yeah.
So that has really worked for us. So we have people out in local Ys who are volunteering their time. Now, of course, there's challenges with that, and there is a learning curve because it is not what they normally do in their day-to-day activity. So translating that to what does it really mean to facilitate knowledge sharing nationally has been a learning curve that we continue to help in terms of just education and awareness, adoption, etc. with our moderators.
Yeah, and then what does success look like? How would you describe success for this?
I'm gonna let Terry take that one first.
Can I answer the one question before that?
Yes,
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So because I do want to add something that I think is really a helpful mechanism to engage and sort of reward all of our moderators who aren't our staff but are volunteers. We have a fairly robust training and leadership development system where we have an internal credentialing process where you can earn a stair step 4 different levels of leadership certification, and we have linked being a volunteer moderator to the ability to earn certification and recertification credits within our very well established leadership development process.
Yeah.
So we tie it to, you're building competencies and you're gaining confidence by being a moderator, and that resonates with people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's been a real helpful mechanism.
And I just say it's so great that Terry has really, the time she's been here, she's built that, like that has become part of our culture where that is valued.
Yes.
So it was really easy to tie into that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what does success look like for this solution? How would you describe success, and how far are you, or as far as progress, how do you feel about that?
Well, I'll go first and then
Yeah.
you can add to it. I think we're looking at it in phases. So for this first year, we just launched February 1st, the technology
So you're
product
still
to support
in
it.
it. Got it, yeah.
So we're in the very early stages. I mean, Lisa and her team are just now working on the longer term strategic roadmap for the technology product and the processes around it.
Yeah.
So I think for this first year, we're looking to develop and maintain just certain levels of participation. And one of the models that Lisa can speak to better than I is the 99-1. So 90% of people are, I have to turn it over to you to explain.
So, with the
90% of, for those of you online, you all know this,
yes.
right? 90% of individuals on an online platform are lurkers, 9%
Yes.
contribute,
Yes.
1% are the highly engaged.
Engaged, yes.
And so that
We're
is
there.
Yeah, and we're there. We've been there, thankfully, we've actually been there since launch, meeting that as a industry baseline and hoping to move the needle on that. You'll see current research will talk about that sort of moving to 70-20-10 because individuals are more used to online platforms. And so we are hoping to move it in that direction where it's closer to 70-20-10.
It's
That
going to
is-
totally confuse the learning industry.
I know.
That has a whole different 70-20-10 learning
But
model. Maybe
it's
a
so
good thing.
Yeah.
it's so cool. It's so cool that you're walking into this with the right mindset, because knowing that like I run an online community too. You're absolutely right. Majority of people they want to be associated with the community, right? But they won't post or they won't really get engaged. The magic that I'm noticing in the ChangeNerd community is that you can actually increase engagement over time. But it takes time to figure out what's that turning point. Does someone have to be a part of the community for 2 months, 4 months before they start getting really comfortable and contributing? So that's really, I think you're walking into it with the right mindset. So if there's, for organizations who are trying to implement a collaboration software, what would you recommend to them?
So I'm just going to repeat what I always say and what Terry said as well, is you have to treat this as a change management initiative. If you treat this as a technology project, you're going to fail. And if you don't think about the people, the culture, processes, then you're going to start on the wrong foot, and you're not going to be able to move behavior or nudge behavior in the direction that you want to.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is clear goals and how it ties to what your organization is doing. So I have an MBA. I always put my business hat on too. That if it is not connected to strategic goals and you can't show that to leadership, then you may get a lot of initial excitement, but that excitement's going to wane because it's not connected to strategic goals.
No, totally. Any advice from you, Terry?
I would add, although this isn't the first thing to do, but it should be woven in as the change starts to come to life.
Yeah.
Just so to make sure staff still want to have a job description. They want to have their goals for the year. Most organizations are still doing some sort of performance management or full performance management.
Yes.
But to link it into that in a positive way so that people understand what's expected.
Yeah.
And that they can get feedback when they're doing the right thing and doing a good job. And a little recognition of what the good job looks like goes a long way as well.
Absolutely.
And I have to do a shout out to our staff here at YUSA. We have our moderators. We have put it in their performance goals, and they are kicking it out of the park with their engagement on the platform. We've been looking at that that engagement number over the last few months, and they are doing a phenomenal job. We're at Terry's suggestion, we're going to be doing a moderation appreciation day just because they're doing such a great job, and I think it is partly because it's in their performance goals and our leadership is holding them accountable, and I think it's also partly because they also see the potential too that this platform can mean not just for them and their jobs, but also for the YMCA movement.
Awesome. So as you were speaking, I was thinking, is there a goal in the future to have this platform kind of customer facing where people in the community can actually, okay, all right.
It came up early in the process when we were even looking at vendors and partners. I know there's a desire and we're open to that. I'm guessing we'll see that bubble up in the strategic roadmap.
Yeah, I was asking because I just think it's phenomenal the work that you're doing, and I have a YMCA membership in my neighborhood, and my kids go there all the time. And so I would love to have an app to do it. So it's really good.
I also want to integrate it more seamlessly with the learning management system. So they're two different systems now, and even if they remain two different technology systems, to have them talking more in sync and have actions that are taken via the knowledge management platform transfer over into credits on the learning side in a very seamless way is something we would really like to see come to life in the future.
Awesome. So Terry, when it comes to large-scale changes, oftentimes the challenge that a lot of organizations have is sustaining momentum and keeping executives excited about something. So, and this is a purpose-driven organization, so you may say, Brian, it's easy, we're the why. But what would you recommend, or what tactics have you used to keep this at the forefront of the CEO and other leaders to keep the momentum going?
So when there's change going on, my mantra is always, you cannot over-communicate.
Yes.
Or communicate. And that's what we're doing.
Awesome.
I will bring Lisa into, per her request, whichever one of us thinks of it first, every few months into leadership group meetings to give updates on what's going on, to shine a light on the statistics of usage at that leadership group level.
Awesome.
In a way that's lifting up those that are, kicking it and not really chastising any individuals that aren't, but you can see if there's some room for improvement there. But it's just keeping it front and center. We do have a lot of stakeholders who are very engaged and want to see this be successful. And yet there's, maybe it's the third rule where you've got people who are still wanting to pick up that phone and call their contact at the Lincoln, Nebraska Y because they've got that relationship. So finding ways to continue to motivate them, especially if they're at the leadership group level, to connect to Link. But if we just keep communicating and lifting up how it's helping the whole organization be more aligned as one movement, that's the power of it.
Awesome. Is there anything else, ladies, that you would like to add? are there any other questions that I didn't ask that you wanted to kind of provide an answer for?
I would just add on to something Lisa was saying about the positioning it as a change management project first. The conversations, Lisa pulled together a cross-functional team of, 15 or 20 people across all sorts of different departments who started meeting, and she was educating them on change management because they were not all familiar even with any change management model. So she was educating them on change management by getting them involved in doing change management for months prior to the launch of this system. Probably a year you started having those conversations. So it's not just making sure you're treating it as a change project, it's putting the change part way in advance of conversations about technology or implementation or communication plans. It's really making everyone aware of the fact that it's a big change, it's a culture change, and we all have a role in that.
Awesome. Go ahead, you want to say
And
something?
I would just say the beauty of that is that the Y has a change model. And so all we did was we followed our own model. And by doing that, it really did put us, ahead of the game, even when we had to accelerate our timeline because of the changes happening here. We were ahead of the game that when that came, we could still do something. So, for example, we are still in a position where we could do early pilots on the platform. So we did pilots before the platform fully launched in February, and the discussions that we had, the people that we had talked to both at local Ys and here at YUSA put us in a position to do that. And it's because we had a model to follow with steps laid out, and frankly all we did was do our best to try and follow
Yes,
it. Yeah.
yes. I think that's awesome. In organizations that do have their own framework tend to execute change better.
Yeah.
Because it starts off with a framework and tools, but then it becomes a mindset of the people involved, and then that's when you start moving. One last question. How did you balance this effort with other competing efforts?
I think
Because no organization is implementing one change.
Yeah. And we did this in the midst of a whole restructuring of our organization. So there was a lot of change. But I think the great thing for us is that this was positioned, and credit to our CEO for doing that. This was positioned as an integral component to our new model of serving YMCA. So it got the thumbs up and the leadership support right from the very beginning. And that it wasn't just Terry and I saying this is a great idea, this came from the top, and I think that it helped tremendously. The other thing, in the time of all of our change that was happening here, we tried to use this as, you may not know what else is going on, but we are very clear about this. If you know nothing else, we're doing this, and this is how it's gonna be, and this is how it's going. And so people, this was sort of the one thing that people could latch onto that was clear, that had a clear goal, clear direction, clear timeline, and in the midst of everything else that was happening here, that was kind of one thing that I hope some people are like, okay, at least I know what my role is in this particular area.
Awesome.
I don't know if you have anything to add.
I would just add that because this was so important to the shift we were making organizationally, and because it was a directive truly from our CEO to accelerate the launch, make it happen in a high quality way, that positioned us, and this was me first, to go to our CFO and go, for this to happen in a quality way, we need this. That team of 6 was not a team of 6 a year ago. But Lisa always had the business case for the type of staff that you needed to support a really robust approach to knowledge management. And then once that became, we knew that was going to be a cornerstone to our new model, then we were able to fill those positions.
Awesome. I love this story.
I do too.
It's such a great story to tell, and I think a lot of companies can really benefit from this conversation. So, ladies, thank you so much for taking time to have this conversation. Sure. Thank you too for being here, and for those of you on the line, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us as well. This concludes our webcast. Take care.
Have a good day, everybody.